The Great Air Conditioner Swindle. Welcome to Mark and Pete. We ask, are fake air conditioners taking us for a ride? Yes, this is Mark and Pete, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's our first thought.
Not a cool customer. Customers are getting hot under the collar when cooling fans fail to give a refreshing flow. And when bogus manufacturers take your dollar, it will come as a chilling blow. Oh, yes. Well, we have seen that the heat wave is sweeping across Europe, including the United Kingdom. Yes, many people are getting very hot under the collar, but they're getting even more hot under the collar and frustrated because the claims of portable air conditioner manufacturers and what they can do. In fact, some are claiming that they can actually cool down a room within less than 90 seconds. But unfortunately, as the Advertising Standards Authority has said, this is completely untrue. Mr. Pete, I know that you're sitting there mopping your brow and getting very, very sweaty, but I will ask you, have you bought one of these particular units? And what say you about this potential con?
Well, you'll be pleased to hear that I saw through it. And no, I haven't bought one of these units, although I have seen them in action in people's offices and in the classroom. So I'm aware of both their existence and their shortcomings, though not of them taking money out of my bank account. Proverbs 14, verse 15 says, "The simple believes everything, but the prudent gives thoughts to his steps." You've got to think through things, and things that basically, if something seems too good to be true, it is. And if something is making such a promise that for very little power output from electricity, for far less than you'd expect, maybe just being plugged into a USB port, it can dry a whole room faster than a full air conditioning unit, then you're probably being taken for a ride. Now, some of these ones that make those claims, just they do work. There's something. There's a science, a technology behind what they're claiming, just not as well as they do. And certainly for the UK, they may work on the wrong sort of principle. I see, Mr. Bark, it's like this.
Yes.
Quite a few of them will work by evaporation. So they're cooling down by evaporating. And that does take a lot less energy input. But you see, in Britain, our summers are extremely humid. So they don't work at all. In fact, if anything, the air is trying to condense onto your unit and not the other way around. So it's having the opposite effect.
Yes. Well, what's more remarkable is that clearly fraudsters have decided this is a good season to make a scam. Because, yes, whilst customers are getting hot under the collar, many have actually thought, well, we'll make an exaggerated claim. In fact, the ASA has said that some of those adverts that are appearing either online or in many other apps where they're streaming through, people thinking, we need to cool down, we need something quickly, we need a small device, and that can cool the entire home. No, it can't. The fact is, it can't. But ironically, some of these devices are going for 70, 100, even up to £120 per unit. Now, what I will say is, I want to make a clear differentiation here, because there are some handheld and desktop devices that are very effective to at least blow air. And if they're in
Yeah,
close proximity, they do very well. And there's one particular one that I'm using, ironically now, Mr. Pete, to keep me cool at this areas. And it's doing a very good job. But what it's not doing is it's not cooling down the room. From the moment you switch it off, you feel the heat.
Yeah,
And so I think that
it's
this is the
cooling
key.
you. Just say it's
Calling
cooling
me
you,
down.
not the room. Yeah, yeah.
That's right, exactly, and that's the point. Now, in some cases, what you find is that some of these devices work in different ways. They're either ones which you charge up, i.e., via a USB format, or you could plug it into the mains and then you could charge it up, and then you can make it as a portable device. But again, it won't cool the room down, it'll cool you. Now, here's the other thing, that there are some that claim that if you put ice cubes in the top, that actually will blow out cold air. It does. and I can tell you they are quite effective. Please be aware that they are slightly bulky, slightly heavy, and very noisy. So
Yeah,
you
and
need to
once the
bear
ice
that in
is
mind.
gone, they don't work anymore.
Once the
So
ice
yeah.
is gone, that's it.
Mm.
But as I said, they're good for what I'll say a short term tactical thing just to keep
Mm.
you cool. If, for example, you're in a if you want to just stay cool for, say, a bit of desktop working somewhere in an office, if you want to go outside, they are actually quite good if you're very close to them. If you put them by a table, say, for example, you've got a cool drink by your side, you've got a chair, and you've got a little breeze by your side. But yes, they won't certainly cool your house down. But here's the thing: is it that really that we're seeing that these type of devices come out, and let's be honest, there are hundreds of thousands of these units. Some are called air conditioning units, some are called cooling fans, some of them are just called fans. Is this really just an exploitation of the consumer yet again?
Well, I
Is that
think it
what you're
is.
seeing here?
Yes, I think it is. It's because we know that air conditioners, a full air conditioning unit, is very effective. So it's
Very
playing on that
expensive.
idea to make us believe that we can have something cheaper that's effective. There are these old ways of doing things that yes, and having an ice pack by the fan or behind the fan, and drawing air over it does work. But once the ice gone, it's gone, it's gone. But you can have your curtains closed during the day to get the sun in, and have the windows open. If you're in a secure area, have the windows open at night to get the room really cool, by the a lot cooler than it would be by the morning. These little tips, little ways of behaving, that have been used for many years, are effective. In fact, having the curtains closed during the day on a sunny day can cool the temperature by several degrees, so it's worth doing. But if you open the windows wide and it's very hot air outside, it may be counterproductive. Unless there's
That's
a
right.
good wind, unless there's a good wind, that's not a good thing to do. But yes, I do think it's rather playing on people's ideas about air conditioning, because they know that's effective when they've been into hotels or into big office blocks. But they have these big vented air conditioners which take the hot air and expel it outside and bring the
Yes,
cool air in. That's basically what they're doing. And also, they're great. They're really good at dehumidifying as well. These units, these large air conditioning units. But say even a portable air conditioner, you would need it to be effective to have a vent going outside the room, maybe out through the window, or that sort of thing, for it to be really effective. And it's going to consume about 1,000 watts. So you're going to be expensive to run, but
that's
that's the way it
right.
goes. So it is possible to get these things, but you don't get them on the cheap.
Well, that's the other thing, and not only the unit price, as you quite rightly say, with the cost of electricity, and that in itself is going to be very expensive. Wait for that bill to come and land on your doorstep. But the fact is that there are some other tips, and we're talking about really cooling down a human being, but there's also cooling down, animals. Dogs and cats, etc., are struggling in this heat. Now, some people will obviously be living in houses which have more than one floor, and again, heat rises. So if you're on the top floor, if you can come down to the ground floor, it does make a big difference. I know that in my house, it's on more than one floor, is 2 degrees between each of the floors, and that is quite
Yeah,
significant.
that's
So
amazing.
if you are in a position where you can sort of set up during the day or even at night, then that might be a consideration. Definitely about closing the curtains. That's a standard thing that people do just to try and at least,
Yeah.
help. And I do agree with the point about maybe if you can, if it's safe. So again, think of safety first. Open a window or a door, maybe a back door, that might sort of let some of the cool air in. Because ironically, houses, with certainly modern houses, have got insulation, and that can actually make
Yeah.
the house even
Keeps the hot
warmer.
air in. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So you've got to bear that in mind, that the temperature is definitely changing. The climate is changing. We're seeing, quite dramatic weathers over the last two
Mhm.
or 3 years. So, Mr. Pete, I know that you own animals. How are you keeping your animals cool?
Well, it's a very simple thing. Obviously, I give them plenty to drink, so they can plenty of water to drink, so they can sweat naturally. I have a dog who obviously sweats through his tongue. Effectively, that's what he's using to cool himself anyway. So, yeah, he has plenty of liquid. But to allow them in the shade, draw the curtains in the room where the dog is. He tends to stay inside. My guinea pigs that I have stay outside, but they've got a movable hutch, which is moved under the shade of a large tree. But again,
Good
always
idea.
making sure that they have plenty to drink. And they're not bothered by it. The animals. The walk is done late in the evening for the dog rather than
Good point.
right at the centre of the day. I mean, you need to take your dog for a walk every day. For many dogs, that's true. For my dog, which is a sheepdog, it's twice a day, but it's not done in the middle of the day. In fact, he'd be better off not going for a walk than dying of heat stroke. It is that
Yes.
hot that he'd be ready to go. Now, for one little tip for a dog, lots of dogs like going in the river. Find your local river in the evening, take him down, and if it's safe, obviously, to do so, if it's a shallow river, let him have a play around in it. He'll thank you for it. Be a good cooling down after a day of hot misery. But yes, it is important to think of pets at this time as well. Um,
Yes. Well, look, I mean, as I said, there's lots of things, good thoughts from Mr. Pete there. But here's the other thing, going back to looking at the actual unit. So buyer beware, folks. Beware and think about what it is that, the actual product. Maybe ask a neighbor, maybe ask a friend, maybe ask a colleague what has worked, what has not worked. Because some of these units have unreliability and also their false claims. So our guidance to you is do your due diligence, stay cool, and just chill.